Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new crypto update. We are currently 3.64% in profit with our BTC USDT trade called in the last update. So let's just quickly switch to the last update because I want to show you what we said, how it's playing out, and what we're going to do in the future. Stay until the end because there's big things happening. Today's FOMC meeting. On top of that, we also have the Dixie dropping, right? We are crashing the US dollar to help with the USD JPY carry trade or JPY carry trade in general. And we need to be very careful right now what we're doing. So stay tuned and let's quickly switch here into the last video and watch this together. Scenario of maybe entering now if you want to have it a little bit riskier and setting your stop loss at 83 and then finishing it at the orange sequence. That's setup number one. Whether I would rather wait for us to really go into this zone over here at 86 and then enter and create a more or higher risk to reward trade. So you can see we are then adjusting and the risk to reward will increase a lot. Right, so this is a possible. So remember this trade over here, and then we switch into right now. So that's exactly what happens. Pip perfect. We reacted at the 96k area, as you can see over here, and from there, after this reaction, I started to enter, and since then again, I'm up 3.64%, and we called that last time. And why are we trading this? I explained it last time very well, and we need to revisit this for you to understand where we're heading from now. So the big issue that we are in is that we are kind of trapped in BTC. We are trapped in this range in between 94k, extended one time to 97k. So let's call it the 100k, and lowest point so far was 80k. So in between 80k and 100k, 20k price range, that's where we are just jumping around. So you can see it here. We are just basically bouncing around in the accumulation phase and sideways trend, whatever you want to call it, right? So every accumulation phase results in a extension of room towards the downside or towards the upside, right? So once we are out of this movement, it will go up or it will go down somewhere most likely, or the sideways trend, the accumulation phase will just continue until there's enough volume, enough interest, buyers stepping in, sellers stepping in and driving price lower or higher depending on fundamental news, any events or price action itself or whatever, right? So that's always the basis of the market. Now, the important thing here in BTC is that we are in the bearish sequence, right? We need to remind ourselves we are in the bearish sequence, but we also have bullish setup, right? In the bearish sequence that is not finished yet, we still miss around 3 to 4% to finish the sequence. We can say it's a finished sequence. So from a finished sequence bearish, it is allowed to go up again, right? Systematically, logically, that's good. We're starting to build up a bullish sequence, the orange one that is not finished yet. So basically this one over here, right? The orange one is not finished yet. C target sitting at 104,000, right? Sorry guys, I don't know why my nose is going wild right now. 104k, right? In the orange sequence, we have an internal bullish sequence that got finished here at 98k, and then we started to drop sharply, which is also logic and valid in the system that we react therefore bearish out of a bullish C target. The same here, it is valid that we are reacting bullish out of a bearish C target. So this sequence finished, now we go bullish until the re-entry, right? The thing is that unfortunately we did not meet the re-entry. The re-entry 50% was at 98k. The highest we went is 97. So there's a lot of sell pressure and we just continue, right? Now from this sell pressure, we have a strong frequency towards the downside, right? And we start to accumulate again, right? We have a distribution towards the downside, which is basically this whole move from 97k down now to 86k, right? And from here, we step into an accumulation again. You can see it here. That was the lowest point, and then basically here's the fair value price, okay? And we are just stepping sideways, but we are kind of starting to break out. Now, all in all, this trade is very risky, but everything you do right now in the market is risky, especially with where we are geopolitically, where we are with FOMC coming today. So there most likely will be no rate cut, right? The problem is though, Dixie dropped to shit basically, right? Because of the unwind of the, or the possible unwind of the JPY carry trade. So they are selling USD, buying JPY. And you can see we have an insane drop in that. Today we have FOMC meeting, so if there's no change in rate cuts, which there's only a 2% probability, so 98% not, then we're going to see a little bit of an increase, right? We're also in a big support, as you can see over here, in a fair value zone, or more so support zone over here in the dollar. So we should see a bullish reaction, okay? Which for crypto right now doesn't tip the point. It doesn't make a difference, right? We have seen that even though Dixie is so low, we should have been increasing, because if dollar becomes cheaper, since we are trading US dollar against BTC, it should go up. And we are seeing a little bit of an up, right? But nothing crazy compared to what is happening in this Dixie. So it's not so much intertwined anymore as before, okay? But why we're saying that is there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. And considering there's so much uncertainty in the market and Bitcoin is an absolute risk asset, we are still seeing some upside, which is good, okay? I'm just trading the pure price action and the system here. So my system tells me we are in a re-entry buy, right? Which is this orange box over here in between the 50% and the 667 Fibonacci level of the subsequent or orange sequence, which is the valid sequence right now that we still need to finish, right? And the market does not like unfinished sequences, same as gaps. If there's a gap, it loves to close gaps, right? And so therefore we are buying, okay? And my take profit is currently sitting at sequence finish of orange sequence because I'm trading the orange sequence, to not get confused over here, which again sits at 104K. Are we getting there? I don't know. Problem is we are still in a sideways trend. Good news, and that's why we took the trade as second confirmation. So first confirmation is the NXT system here, LA2A Fibonacci, right? And then the second confirmation was the order book. So if you go into the order book, or especially into the heat map, you can see that there was a lot of buys sitting over here, right? We had 52 million buys sitting over here. We had 64 million buys sitting over here. And that's exactly the zone that we marked out, the blue one. And we perfectly touched it. The buy limit orders got triggered, and therefore a lot of buy volume came in, okay? So two confirmations to enter this trade. And as you can see, it is profitable, stop loss break even. Now, is there a high chance for it to return and stop out and break even? Definitely. Are we still taking the trade because we have two very strong confirmations? Of course, that's what trading is about, right? As you can see, I'm also hedging. I have a put option somewhere over here. The put option I had before, you might remind yourself of that. So I'm kind of hedging. I'm sell and buying because that's what makes sense. That's the second level of trading, I say. First level of trading is, you have one direction. That's what most traders do, right? Which is okay, but you can hedge yourself with options. So I'm a sell. I have a put option, which just means I'm selling BTC, but I'm also buying BTC in CFD and in crypto exchange, right? In futures and so on. So understanding this is very important because I'm completely hedged. So whatever happens towards the upside or downside doesn't matter. If we go up, I make money with my trade. I lose money on my put option. If we go down, I make a lot of money with my put option and I get stopped out break even, right? So I'm more safe towards the downside than towards the upside right now. Percentual, but still either way I'm going to come out and profit, right? Now the only thing is where it's going to suck is that if we don't have any volume at all, so we continue the accumulation phase, which is okay. We can go into an accumulation phase, especially if we reach the re-entry. But my prediction, okay, let's go to the predictions. My prediction is that today on the FMC meeting, 8 p.m. Dubai time, there's not going to be any rate cut, right? It's going to stabilize the market a little bit, especially the Dixie from continuously dropping. So therefore, people are going a little bit more risky again. So therefore, I still think we're going to have a little bit of a run up here in BTC. And the only problem here is the EMA 200 that we have to overcome. We might see some resistance over here, some pullbacks. So you might trade the pullbacks if you are an intraday trader or whatever. As you guys know, I mainly swing trade. And then I'm just going to hold this position. Now, if we drop below and we break these levels, and you can see it in the heat map, there's more buys coming in than sells, right? So you can even see it here better. You can see we have more buys as a kind of like a pullback. So let's say chart would do something, price would do something like this, right? We would come down and then trigger these orders and continue up, right? So there's a little pullback planned. And if you're trying to get in and play this game, then I would recommend, which is not a financial advice, I would recommend to re-enter at 87918. 8776. Okay, that's where we are seeing buy limit orders sitting right now. So let's just take this out for a second and check it out. So you can see here we have 2.69 million, which is not crazy. Somewhere over here we have 52 million, which is a lot, right? So let's mark this area out and just get something in here, a little box, right? And let's zoom in for some better overview. Let's just move this box somewhere over here. And let's include a little bit of a color over here. Okay, with 5%, it's always good. Perfect. And now we're gonna set up the price, and we're gonna give in especially the coordinates that we have here. So we start at the bottom 87769. Okay, so the bottom 87769. Okay, and then the top we're gonna put here 87932. 87932. Okay, 87932. Okay, and then we're gonna click on OK, and then you can see here, oh sorry, I didn't want to move this. You can see here would be a valid re-entry. Now, if you combine that with a traditional barrier, Fibonacci, Elliott wave, whatever, let's do that to see, and you can see something that overlaps, which is always good to have confirmations which overlapping, right? Like in logic. In logic, you want certain events, certain assumptions to overlap and create a certain logic. And the same thing we have here. So you can see that this big buy limit volume sitting here, right, starts at, as I said, 87, blah, 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 goes to 8768, okay, and you can see it's perfectly overlapping with the 50% entry, right, and that's what we want to see. If we want a bullish sequence to be built up, which we already have, right, we already have one here, this one, right? So if we mark this one out to get a little bit of a better idea where price is going, we can definitely do that. So from here to here, and you can see now we have another bullish internal sequence, which is basically this one. And let's move this one out again, and let's change it to black. Okay, so this is the sequence we have active right now. It's a bullish sequence, and then we would have a re-entry, which is normally BC, which would be from here to here. This would be our re-entry. Now we need to delete the first one for a second, just not to get confused over here. And then we would have a re-entry sitting in this area. Okay, so this would be the current setup. So my prediction is, okay, for all of you guys watching this, is that we're gonna come down towards this area. We're gonna catch the orders, and then we're gonna finish the sequence at 91k. Okay, for now, that's all we can say for now. So if you enter this trade, for example, you would have an upside of 3.6%, and you would have had depending where you put your stop loss, but for me it would be here, you would have a downside of 0.91%. So that's basically a 1 to 3.5 risk to reward trade, which is strong, right? So considering this, we're gonna leave this for the next time and check it out, but that's what I'm planning to do right now. And then we need to continue to see, okay, how strong is it? Are we breaking the EMA 200? Are we rejecting the EMA 200? How is market going to react today to the FOMC meeting? Again, I just want to give some attention to one more thing here on the on-chain analysis. On Bitcoin, you can still see we have smart money traders are 286 million US dollars shorting compared to 10 million buying. We have public figures being long, and we have whales being insanely short with nearly 200 million. So we still have a lot of short pressure. And something that we might see happening is price just being driven into the sell direction again. So we also need to consider here something, and that is the overall bearish key level over here, which is basically this one. So now you see another overlap, which I love to see, is that we are overlapping with the bullish sequence that we just marked out, overlapping with a re-entry sell for the whole push downwards, right? So we might just want to go up here, collect liquidity, and drop down, right? For me, most likely is when I'm going to take profit is somewhere over here, which would give me a 6% profit trade, which is amazing. And then I would even start to maybe consider selling over here if we touch here the 50%, right? So my prediction, to sum it up, re-entry over here, going to the 92k, starting to sell over here again if we start to see bearish momentum, and dropping lower, right? But for that, there's a lot of things we need to see how market develops in the next days. Again, summing it all up, this is the current game plan and perfectly predicted from last time to this time. And again, some things we need to consider here is number one is the price action, right? And the price action is still bearish. and short-term bullish, okay? But the short-term bullishness could lead just to increased liquidity for the big sell, okay? Then we have the Dixie crash, right, regarding the JPY carry trade, which basically means these central banks are ditching the dollar and buying JPY to stabilize the economy. I've explained it many times. If you want to do some research on ChatGPT or whatever, just put in JPY carry trade and you will understand more. And then we have a lot of buy volume, which speaks for the current up. Okay. And then we have the FOMC meeting today, which is a big question into our trading bias in that sense, because most likely we won't cut rates, right? No rate cuts. So therefore, Dixie should go up a little bit, okay, stabilize a little bit, which is good normally for risk assets, okay, stability in the market. Because if there's stability in the market, people like to go into risky assets. And that's what's happening right now, is that you can see metals like gold and silver and so on that I'm very much exposed to right now. They're just going parabolic. They're just going up, right? So they are safe haven investments, and they show us gold is just ripping higher. Shows us that traders, investors are very uncertain about these times. And if we are in uncertain markets, very uncertain markets, right, then risky assets don't get so much attention, right? They're more sold off, so they're cycling the money out. We saw that with Trump, right, as an example, so you understand that principle. Once Trump became president, the market started to rally. Why? Because Trump stands for great stability. He has done a very great job in the past, and he's known to stabilize the markets. Has he done that so far? Kinda. What I believe a lot in is that Trump said one thing last time on the World Economic Forum meeting in the WEF, and that was stock markets. Okay, he said stock markets are going to 2x in the next 2 years, right? So midterms are approaching now, so 2 years, and then he has another 2 years, right? So he, to keep this promise, has to double the stock market by 2x. How is he going to do that? The only way to do that is to drop the Dixie. Dixie needs to go down, right? Printing money, M2 money printing needs to go up. Okay, now when money printing goes up, which it's doing, and the value of the dollar is very low, where is the money going to go? It's going to go into risk assets, right? Like BTC. It's going to go into BTC, but since we have such a strong de-evaluation of the Dixie, there's a lot of money going into metals, okay? But for that, market needs to stabilize, okay? But for the stock market to do that, right, to increase the stock market or to exit, that's exactly what needs to happen. Dixie down or Dixie pretty low, and that's what he's doing. He's crashing the Dixie. He would have liked Chairman Powell to do it, right? He's the one that announces the rate cuts, but he already said he's not going to cut again. It makes no sense, right? So Trump is following through by the moves he's doing, and if you read behind the lines, with exactly what he said, the promise to double the stock market, right? And to leave as a president that brought prosperous times, and low inflation and so on. Is he doing it right now? Not really, no. But can it work? It can. And that's something he needs to do, because midterms are approaching. And if he gets voted out, he's out. So he needs to follow through on his promises. And big voters, big impact are people that have a lot of money. And if people that have a lot of money make a lot of money because of a certain president and a certain game plan, they're going to vote for him again. And that's exactly what he needs. He's targeting the wealthiest people out there that have the biggest say, because if they are with him, because of the markets just being so prosperous under him, which were not the case if you consider Joe Biden's times. I mean, you could still make money, but it was nothing to compare with the volatility we have right now, right? So that's a little bit of like the fundamental game plan around all of this. But obviously we need to see step by step, day by day, week by week, because things are prone to change so insanely fast. If there's another war breaking out, if Iran gets attacked, then again, this is uncomfort in the market, or uncomfortable for the market, might see a sell-off in BTC. A lot of things play into that, but that's the game plan for now. We are making money. That's the most important thing. That's why we do all of this. And with that being said, guys, let's focus on this area over here. I gave you a clear game plan on what I'm doing, and you can again follow along or not. Make sure to like, follow, ask questions in the comments below, and follow my Instagram that I'm going to link below, which is not my main Instagram. I will put both, but follow this one because this one is all about trading and investing. And if you love what I do, you can stay updated over there. See you in the next one.